Everyone, Chris Midds here, New South Wales Labor leader. I'm joined today by Shadow Transport Minister Joe Halen and Shadow Police Minister Walt Secord. I'm going to say a few things because there's quite a bit in the news agenda today. First of all, it's good news that regional travel has opened up for the rest of New South Wales. Great for regional economies, good for people who've got family members who are in the bush. And we are thinking on a day like today about communities and families getting back together over what has been a very, very difficult 3 months for regional communities. We want to make sure that in the run-up to Christmas their economies are pumping, that the jobs that have been lost in regional New South Wales are made up. So the message to all vaccinated people in Sydney, in metropolitan Sydney, is plan your regional getaway. Think about a town, potentially in central west New South Wales, that you can go and visit, spend some money there, have a good time, and enliven that part of New South Wales, stimulate their economy. It's the best thing that you can do to get New South Wales moving again and make a dent in the 260,000 people that lost their jobs during the lockdown and the pandemic over the last 3 months. Second issue is in relation to unvaccinated Australians travelling to regional New South Wales. Now, we understand the New South Wales government is at the moment discussing ways and measures in relation to unvaccinated Australians in Australia's largest state. We would urge them to go with the 95% figure. We understand that there is complexity in relation to that and there'll be pushback from within the government's own ranks, but it's the best way of protecting our public hospital system at a crucial point. We do not want our public hospitals overrun, and at the same time we want to make sure that our regional communities and metropolitan Sydney economy springs back to life. The best way of doing that is to ensure that those people who've been vaccinated can travel to the regions, and those that haven't been vaccinated will have to wait until we hit that 95% trigger. It's not to be done in a penury way to punish anybody. It's to protect our public hospital system. When you consider, particularly in other jurisdictions around the world, that the public hospital system within their communities have been protected by vaccinated people, it's the best way of driving up those remaining vaccination rates. So we would urge the government to go down that line. My understanding is that the Premier of New South Wales is considering that as a policy option. He can expect support from the New South Wales opposition if he does that. The third issue I was going to mention this morning is the light rail fail, particularly in Sydney at the moment. Now, this is a huge problem for Sydney transport. It's another example of privatised transport in Sydney going wrong. It's a light rail fail brought to you by the New South Wales Liberals and Nationals, and I think it's incumbent upon the Premier of New South Wales to explain why his private model, the privatised transport model in Australia's largest city, continues to fail with foreign-made public transport infrastructure. Let's build it here. Let's back our own ingenuity, our own engineering, our own manufacturing. Let's get behind Australian know-how. I know that we can do it. It's what other jurisdictions around the world are doing. It's the best way forward for public transport in Sydney at the moment.